Hi everybody, Jack here. Welcome to this week's episode of Fantasy Can. I can't even imagine what it must be like to be a Browns fan. Are you used to it? Because it wasn't fun last week for me. Josh Gordon has been traded to the Patriots. That changes a lot of things in the fantasy world and a lot of things in the NFL too. First off, Tom Brady has a really good target, probably the best skill level player he's had around since Randy Moss. That's saying a lot, aside from Gronk, of course. Gordon has the best quarterback he's ever had in his career, and frankly, best quarterback ever. As long as Josh can stay on the field, things look really good for New England. The only problem with that is he's had so many problems with just staying away from certain things that he shouldn't be doing and being able to actually play. I understand that what he's going through is really hard, and I really wish him the best, and all of us do here. And it's been a lot for him, I'm sure, this past week, and he might not. He's probably in no condition to just start right away, but I do really like that he is on the Patriots, and I think that might just be the best thing for him on and off the field. With all the news out of the way, we're going to go ahead and work into Hot or Thought for this week. The first person for Hot or Thought this week is going to be quarterback. Not really surprised. We talked about him last week in the same segment. Patrick Mahomes is just absolutely on fire. This guy cannot do anything wrong right now. He's thrown 10 touchdown passes in the last 2 games. That's a butt ton of touchdown passes. That's terrible. Numbers like that don't just happen. He's going to be a good quarterback. And he's going to stay good for the rest of the season. This guy is someone that if you drafted, you should be starting him every single week. And then the opposite side of things, Matt Stafford is going to be our thought this week. I don't hate Matt Stafford. I think that he's a really good player, and I'm honestly kind of big on him. But the only problem is he's inconsistent, and they got this whole coaching situation going on there, and they just don't look good. I realized that he had a great week last week, but I need to see more from him before I go out and say that he's a guy that you should always start, or that he's hot, or that he's even, like on the spot where he's a matchup starter. I just don't know how I feel about him right now. Our first hot running back is going to be Phillip Lindsay. He's an undrafted rookie out of Colorado, and he's been balling out for the last 2 weeks. It might be a bit of a stretch to call this guy hot, but right now, if you have him, you should be starting him. He's a big part of this Denver Broncos offense, and until he starts to slow down, I'm not going to be... Until he starts to slow down, I'm not going to be betting on this. He's a big part of the Denver Broncos offense, and until he starts to slow down, I'm not going to be benching him anytime soon. Our thought for running backs is going to be Isaiah Crowell and the Jets. Crowell had a great week 1. Looked good, looked like it was going to be really promising. But then, week 2 happened up against a not that great Dolphins defense and was not really able to do anything. He struggled to move the ball, only getting about 40 yards on 12 carries. That's really not that special. He's kind of coming down from the week he had last week and turning into the player that was on the Browns that we all know. I was never big on Crowell, and I'm not going to start being big on him right now. This wide receiver from Tampa is absolutely on fire. Deshaun Jackson has been putting up points like no other. Jackson routes up 128 yards and a touchdown last week, so he's very clearly going to be sticking around in this offense. Jackson picked up 129 yards and a touchdown last week, so he's very clearly going to stay a big part of the Tampa Bay offense. He's finally being able to do what he used to do in Philly, and that's run really far and catch balls. He's not catching as many balls as you would like, so he is kind of a hit or miss, but I still really like him for the rest of the year. And this week we're just going to have to put Kenny Stills into the thought category. It really is a shame because I was really hoping that he was able to pull something good, but he just had a terrible week 2, and that's enough for me to say that he's just trying to deceive you. He only caught 2 balls for 17 yards, and we all know that that's not enough points for you to actually start him. He's inconsistent, and I think so are the Dolphins, but for right now, I want to stay away from Kenny Stills. Another Tampa Bay player is coming in for hots for tight ends. O.J. Howard had a great week last week, and he's starting to really come into his own. Howard didn't have a great year, but that's pretty normal for rookie tight ends. Right now, though, he's seeming to have a lot more volume in this offense, and Fitzpatrick seems like to throw to him. I'm really liking O.J. Howard a lot, and I really think that he's something that you should definitely get behind, and that's why he's going to be hot. Thoughts this week for tight ends is going to be Jesse James on the Steelers. He's normally a pretty good tight end with just catching a few passes and kind of moving on, but he's never really the big home run guy. Our tight end that's a thought this week is going to be Jesse James and the Steelers. He's normally a really good tight end, but the only problem with him is that he's normally a mediocre tight end, but the problem with him is that he's a mediocre tight end. He doesn't really add anything crazy to your fantasy team. He's a guy who the Steelers like to throw to occasionally, big-bodied guy that just get a couple yards. And he'll catch like a couple passes every game, but it's really up to chance whether or not he's going to be in the red zone for that. And the only way that you really want to play him is if he's catching touchdowns, because he's not getting enough volume otherwise. So I'd say stay away from Jesse James right now. Maybe stow him on your bench, but for right now, I'm putting him down as a thought. Now let's take a look at rankings for Week 3.
So to start off, we got quarterbacks. We're going to take a look. We got Patrick Mahomes, Tom Brady, Aaron Rodgers, Cousins, Newton, Breeze, Wentz, Watson, Fitzpatrick, and Stafford. So Watson had a comeback game last week. I'm still really big on the guy because I've seen what he can do and I really like it. It's just I don't totally trust him because like of that stinker he put up, and he just didn't look good. He hasn't looked like he did his rookie year yet, and he's still putting up numbers where he did last week, but I just really, really hope to see some big improvements soon. Running back starts off with Todd Gurley, Alvin Kamara, Ezekiel Elliott, Melvin Gordon, Saquon Barkley, McCaffrey, James Conner, David Johnson, Dalvin Cook, and Jordan Howard. Jordan Howard might be a surprise to you guys, but I really think that he's starting to come into his own in the Bears offense. I really like him a lot, and I think he's an extremely undervalued player. I am a Bears fan, so there's obviously some bias, but I just want to say that I still think that he's a very good player, and because he's playing Arizona this week, I think he's a must-start in all your leagues if you have him. Wide receivers start off with Antonio Brown, Julio Jones, Michael Thomas, DeAndre Hopkins, A.J. Green, Odell Beckham Jr., Tyreek Hill, Stephon Diggs, Mike Evans, and Adam Thielen. There's been a lot of drama about Antonio Brown recently just because of all of his social media posts and that one thing when he said, trade me. So I don't think that anything's really going to happen with Antonio anytime soon. I understand that he's frustrated because their team is just not looking like they normally do. Brown is still a guy, though, that you have to start every single week just because of his skill level. So don't let any of the off-the-field stuff bother you at all. Just start Antonio Brown. Going into tight ends, we got Gronk, Kelsey, Ertz, Graham, Ingram, Kyle Rudolph, Jordan Reed, George Kittle, Trey Burton, and O.J. Howard. I think Jimmy Graham is going to start to become more and more of a viable or elite tight end soon, just because, he had a good week with Rodgers last week, and, he's a good player. Like, they're just working on getting him integrated into the offense, so I really think that trading for Jimmy now, if you don't have a tight end, would be a really good idea. So going in the defense, we got Bears, Vikings, Jags, Eagles, Rams, Ravens, Browns, Texans, Panthers, and Broncos. Bears D, again, I gotta say it, I'm really liking them. I'm liking them a lot. I think that they're going to be great for the rest of the year, and they're definitely someone that you want to be starting every single week if you have them. Starting off, we have Jimmy Garoppolo playing Kansas City. The Chiefs have been really, really, really bad at stopping opposing quarterbacks. First, Phillip Rivers had a great game. Then, Big Ben just goes off. But I think that he's going to have a lot of yards through the air, and he should be able to carve up that defense a little bit. It looks like Jimmy Garoppolo might have his first big game of 2018. Next, we have Ryan Fitzpatrick against the Steelers. What happened last week with the Steelers? 6 touchdowns by Pat Mahomes. I don't think Fitzpatrick's going to do that well, but there's definitely some good things waiting to happen there. Sits, I'm putting out Derek Carr and Tyrod Taylor. First sit for quarterbacks is going to be Derek Carr. The guy's playing Miami this week. The Raiders really need to figure out what they're doing, with their whole entire team. So I really don't think that Carr is a viable start really anymore until he proves me otherwise. Tyrod Taylor's had some good past couple weeks, putting up some good points. Nothing really too crazy, but still looking good. I am saying him this week, though, because of his matchup against the Jets, who've actually done a pretty good job of shutting down quarterbacks. Jordan Howard is a player that you have to start this week. He's playing Arizona, and they have been terrible against the run game so far. Another person to play this week is Kenyon Drake. Oakland really hasn't been great against the run, and it's looking like Drake's trying to get more volume, so I'm really kind of getting behind him now. I think you should start him this week. Adrian Peterson did not have the follow-up week any of us were really hoping for. He's playing Green Bay this week, and they've been doing a pretty good job of shutting down the run,
So I really don't think that you should be starting him. Next, we have Hines from the Colts, who's actually looked pretty good in the past couple weeks, but they're playing Philly this weekend, and they've been doing a really good job of shutting down the run, so I don't want any part of it. Both these wide receivers are on the same team for starts, and that's Stephon Diggs and Adam Thielen. They're playing Buffalo this week, and they have been doing a terrible job of stopping really anything that's been trying to get into their end zone. So both these receivers are people that you want to start. And obviously, Kirk Cousins has been doing a pretty good job of getting both of them the ball, so there's really no need to fear there. For sits this week, I have Mike Williams. He's been having a great year so far, and I'm really kind of starting to get behind him, and I think he's going to be a great player later. In Dynasties, pick him up if you can, and if you got him, good for you. He's playing the Rams this week, though, and they've been doing a really good job of stopping the pass, so I'm not totally behind starting him this week. I think that he's pretty good, and I think he's going to stay pretty good for the rest of the season, but I think this week is one that we have to probably sit him. Another sit, Nelson Aguilar playing Indy. The Indianapolis Colts have been doing a great job of stopping the pass. Although Carson Wentz is back, I am a little worried for his first game to see how it goes, and I'm going to sit Nelson Aguilar for this week. A tight end I'm starting is Will Disley. He's playing Dallas this week, and he's had a couple of good games strung together. He's got touchdowns in back-to-back games now, and he's starting to look like he's going to be Russell Wilson's red zone threat, replacing Jimmy Graham, which might be a little hard to do, but right now he's not doing a bad job of it. So I'm thinking that you're going to want to start him this week. Following him, Evan Ingram, who had a great week last week, just kind of pulling together some points in garbage time, but who cares, they count. He's playing Houston this week, and I really think that you should start him just because he's starting to look like he's way more of a threat in their offense. I'm sitting Jordan Reed. He's playing the Packers this weekend. I just don't trust him. I haven't really trusted him since a few years ago when he was actually good, and he's just too inconsistent. I think he's going to pull down some passes, and he might catch a touchdown pass, but he is really nothing that you can take to the bank every single week. Next guy I want to sit this week is Ben Watson on the Saints. He's playing Atlanta this weekend. The other tight end I'm sitting for this week is Ben Watson on the Saints. He hasn't really done anything this season. I know it's been 2 games, but when you're just when you're looking as bad as he is right now, I just don't want anything to do with him. I just don't like him this week. So that concludes this week's episode of Fantasy Can. Thank you all for watching. Please remember to follow us on Twitter and Instagram. Like, comment, subscribe. I got links to all the social media stuff below. Make sure to check out our website. We're posting about 3 articles per week, and it's just about every single segment that we post here, but they're a little bit more in depth and there's more to them. So please check those out. Thank you guys so much, and I'll see you later.